Welcome to this, our latest Astley Media Project Positivity webcast. During these chats, we're talking to people about how they're drawing positives from the recent challenges we've all faced. Today, I'm in conversation with Bernadette Jiwa, who is a recognised global authority on business philosophy and the role of identity and story in business. Bernadette is the author of several best-selling books on marketing and brand storytelling. Enjoy. Hi Bernadette, how are you?
Hi Mark, how are you going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. Slightly bleary-eyed. It's 7 a.m. start for us, and I think 3 o'clock-ish where you are. So
it's 4 for me, coming to the end of my day, the start of yours.
yeah, but it's good. We've got the whole day ahead of us now, so that's great. I understand you're back in lockdown over there. You're in Melbourne.
We're back in lockdown. Yeah, we're doing our bit, and I think I'm in awe of our leadership and the community here. Really, actually, I think we're in good shape. I'm hoping so.
Good. And you've managed to sneak in a haircut in between.
Well, we managed to open up for a bit, and we're not sure whether this is really our first wave, because Australia did so well with during the pandemic, or whether this is the second wave. But we're just doing our bit to keep everyone healthy and safe as we should.
Yeah. Well, hope it all ends again soon, because it's not fun, is it? It's not fun. Bernie, look, thanks for joining us. It's a pleasure to talk to you. We've emailed lots over the years. You were one of the first people I reached out to when I started my business sort of 8 years ago, after reading Make Your Idea Matter. And you've been really encouraging and really gracious in answering my emails. And sort of started reading your stuff again recently, and thought I'd reach out and see if we could have a chat. And you said yes, which is great. So say you've written an incredible number of books, including the first one that led me to discover your great work, Make Your Idea Matter. But other titles include Marketing a Love Story, Hunch, Meaningful, and another favourite of mine, The Fortune Cookie Principle.
You've got them all, Mark.
Nearly, yeah. I think your latest one I might be missing, but I'll be getting that soon. But your passion is helping people to craft and tell their stories. And as a former journalist, I know everyone has a story in them. But how do we even begin to truly understand what our story is? That's quite a daunting task for some people.
Oh, I think there is no one story. You know, we're always evolving. And when I talk to people, we start digging into backstory, whether that's a company or an individual. Right now, my passion is with this story skills workshop, helping individuals to dig into their backstory and look back at their life. And I think we're so busy trying to get to where we want to go with our ambitions and our plans for success that we forget about what got us from there to here. So that's part of what we do in the Story Skills Workshop, and also giving people a structure and a process, because funnily enough, we all love stories. Storytelling is our most persuasive technology. But if you think about it, nobody really taught us to tell a story, unless you're a professional writer or a journalist, or you studied an MFA. You don't really understand what the components of a story are.
Yeah, and I think again that individual story is increasingly important, isn't it? I spoke recently to Emily Esfahani-Smith and Tom Asacker, and they both spoke about the importance of, the story you tell yourself, and the story you tell yourself is the story you become.
Two great authors and speakers you had there. Yeah, amazing.
So you say in your book, The Fortune Cookie Principle, if your purpose is your why, your vision is your possibility. And that's one of the best definitions of those two business essentials I've ever read. However, a lot of people are just working hard to get through the day at the moment. What would you say to convince people that spending time considering your mission, vision, core values, purpose, and all of those things is worth the effort?
Well, I think it goes back to something that I think you touched on with Emily, which is about meaning. And I understand that it's hard for a lot of people right now who are panicking about where their business is going to be in the next 12 months, to think about meaning. But if we can understand the reason that we're here, if we can understand our audience, the people that we want to serve, we've got a better chance of not just surviving in business, but thriving. And the people who do the best are the ones that are most resilient and adaptable, are the people who understand who they're here to serve and what they do and why they do it. So I don't know if that's convincing enough. It's hard. It's hard when you're a restaurateur trying to make ends meet and your doors are closed. What do you do then? So I don't want to lecture people about purpose and vision, but I do know from the people that I've worked with that when they think about their backstory, when they think about their audience and the intersection of those two things, why they're here and who they want to serve and what they want to be in the world, then they get a lot of fulfillment from that, and they build sustainable businesses too.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is tapping into your passion, isn't it? And letting other people share your passion. And I think there's a great example of that in your TED talk that you did, The Secret to Spreading Ideas, where you spoke about a chap called Justin Genak.
Yeah.
Can you just explain the story? Because I think it's a brilliant story, that, and if he can sell what he sells, then you can sell anything, can't you?
Yeah, I have one of those cubes. So Justin Genak was a guy who decided that he wanted to prove that design, as a designer, he wanted to prove that design could add value. So he went around New York and he just picked up garbage from the city streets and he packaged it in these Perspex cubes, and he thought, oh, I'll just sell this for a joke, $10 souvenirs. And people loved them so much. The price just kept going up and up and up. He did so it's this beautiful packaging with the garbage inside. He did some for the Obama inauguration, and people were saying, oh, these are pieces of art. So he found a way to tell his story and create value with design. So yeah, it's a brilliant story. If I'd known, I would have brought the cube with me, but you can, I think it was New York City garbage. If you Google it, you'll find some of the images on Google.
And he's got a whole range of these things now, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he does that anymore. He's moved on to other things, but as really creative entrepreneurs do.
Yeah. And, a part of that, I suppose, was the experience that the people who bought those cubes, like yourself, had through the purchase and continue to have as a piece of art. And that's something, again, that you talk about, the value of creating a great customer experience. Do you think that sort of post the pandemic, that's going to become more important than ever?
It's going to be really tough, isn't it, for someone, let's go back to hospitality, to create that same intimacy. We got a brilliant cafe still operational right through the pandemic. They've managed to stay open it's our favorite cafe in a park. And what they did immediately was think about how they were going to adapt to serve their community. And that's where they've always begun. They've always thought about, okay, community first. Who is it we serve? Who do we want to be to those people? And then immediately the pandemic hit, they just pivoted and created a social distance cafe. And they've been doing it for months now, and they're thriving. So I think if we start with community first, if we start with people first, service first, that's not a bad strategy.
No. And again, as you say, that being agile and not having your head in the sand, just getting your head up and thinking, how can we get through this and what do we need to do differently? I've seen so many examples of businesses doing some great things and actually changing their model completely as a result of what's happened.
So maybe we come out of it better at the end. Who knows, Mark?
Yeah, I hope that in some ways we will, and I think the sense of community we've found again, and some of the connections that we've all made, I think are good things. That the environment, the impact is on the environment, and all of that, and that's what this whole series of webcasts is about. This Project Positivity is trying to find those little nuggets that give us a little ray of hope, I guess.
There was
So
another brilliant thing in, I think that's come to light is the frontline workers who were invisible, you know, essential workers who were invisible to us, who didn't feel that they were acknowledged, possibly in the community. There's a brilliant article in The Guardian, in one of their long reads, about a cleaner in Lewisham Hospital, I think. I'll send you the link to it if you want to link to it in your
please,
show
yeah,
notes. And it was just such a great example of storytelling, because we can you know, put out all this data about, you know, minimum wage, etc., but when you tell one person's story, you just, the emotional connection to the story, to the plight of these workers was incredible from that long read. So I think that's one of the other positive things, is that we're valuing the people who do important work now more than ever.
absolutely. It's really interesting you say that, actually, because when we spoke to Emily last week about the power of meaning, there's a few paragraphs in the book about a hospital cleaner when she's talking about personal stories. And she said, you know, this lady told me, I'm not a hospital cleaner. I help people get better. You know, I create the environment which, you know, offers cleanliness and a safe place for them to recover from their illnesses. And that's my story. I'm not a cleaner.
It's true. And actually, in hospitals, I used to work in a hospital, and the people who often have the most time and the most interaction with the patients are the cleaners. They do incredible work.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. We, you know, we can't thank them enough, can we, for what they have done and are doing. So back to some of your work in Marketing a Love Story, the book that brought me to you and helped me with my business immensely. So thank you for writing it. You urge us to ditch the business plan and write a letter to your future customer. I totally get that, but can you explain a little more about the idea behind the exercise?
So what did you do, Mark? Did you write the letter to your future customer?
I
Yeah.
did.
What did you say in that letter? Yeah.
I made a promise. I made a promise that, you know, I would give my all, that I would listen, that I would put myself in your shoes, and that, you know, if what I was doing wasn't good enough, then, you know, please just tell me, and, you know, I'll be happy to sort of part ways if, you know, if I'm not doing what I promised to do.
You know, one thing I didn't say in the book is that we should write those letters and publish them on our websites. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah.
I think when you write when you do that exercise, what it's about is thinking about your customer not just as a data point, not just as a visitor to your website, not just as, oh, let me write a call to action to some random individual. If you write a letter, you have to have someone in mind. So you have to think about your customer as a human being, and you know, we have to get rid of the labels in order to serve, really. So I think that's why it's a great exercise, and it's obviously worked for you 8 years later. you're you know, you're expanding and growing still, and adapting even in these tough times. So hats off to you.
Yeah, thank you. I know of one company around here that has in their meeting room cardboard cutouts of who they perceive their customers to be. You know, dressed as they'd expect them to dress, and to look as they expect them to look, and with families and babies and prams or whatever it might be, so that whenever they go into a meeting, they sit there and their customers are visible around them.
Do you know the story about Jeff Bezos? I know he's not everyone's most popular leader, but nobody can deny that Amazon, in many ways, have thought about the customer and what the customer wants. But what he apparently does in board meetings or in team meetings is have an empty chair that represents the customer, so the customer has a seat at the table.
Right.
So along those similar lines, how do we keep the customer top of mind in everything we do, or the audience? Whether it doesn't have to be a customer, you could be a teacher or an activist or whoever you are, whoever you serve. How do you keep them top of mind in everything you do?
Absolutely, and I think, you know, at times like this, the temptation often is heads down, and, you know, how do we get through this? And actually, the only people who are going to help you through this are your customers. Without them, you haven't got a business, have you?
Yeah, that's, yeah, spot on. You couldn't have said it better.
Thank you. You did an interview with Seth Godin, who's a hero of both of ours, fabulous chap, very, very smart cookie, in 2013. And you asked him the one thing we should do every day before we check our emails and social media, etc. So I'm going to ask you the same thing. He said, before you consume, create, which typical Seth, brilliant answer summed up in about 4 words. But what would your advice be, Bernadette?
He said, before you consume, create, before you sing a song, write a song, before you read a book, write a book. It was just one of those incredible moments. I remember it well. I remember where I was sitting when he said it. I remember how it felt. I think I just had to end the interview there because it was such a perfect moment. And I would love to say that I practice that every single day. I'm not saying that I do, but I have tried to over the years. One of the other best pieces of advice that Seth has given me is that you don't need more time, you need to decide. So that's what I would say to people, is prioritize the things that are going to move you forward. And again, I'm not saying I'm a saint in this regard either. Don't allow your attention to be hijacked. We do it all the time. Be very deliberate and intentional about your days and where your time is going, because as we know, it's our most precious resource.
It is, yeah. And sometimes it's about creating time, isn't it? Today we've started, a lot earlier than we normally start to be with you, which is, a pleasure. But there's, if you're busy, there's no reason why you can't create more time by just getting up a little bit earlier and, and enjoying the pleasures of the first thing in the morning brings you.
Or staying off the news cycle.
Yes.
Right now, which is so hard for all of us because we're just looking for some ray of hope.
Yeah. So it is easy to get sucked into that rabbit hole, isn't it? Once you start looking at the internet, and while you're working. So yeah, that's a real discipline, isn't it? So going back to the fortune cookie principle, there's a section on community in there, and we spoke a little bit earlier about rediscovering community as a result of the pandemic. What do you think community means for business?
Oh, it means everything, because as I said, with this community cafe, who are the people who are going to be there for you when the chips are down? If you are, the more connected you can be to the people you serve, the more chance you have of them supporting you. So it's about this, creating this sense of belonging with the people that you hope to serve. A couple of years ago, I decided that I missed that connection with the people I served. I was doing a lot of consulting, so people would parachute me in for a month and to problem solve. But what I was missing out on was not seeing the end result of the work. So you go into, maybe this happens with you, Mark, you go into a big company and you help them with some strategic or marketing piece. I'm not sure if that's some of the stuff you do, but they would ask me to troubleshoot with them. And then I would step away and they would implement, and I wouldn't necessarily see the result of the work. And I found that I was getting less and less fulfillment from that work. So I started a community for small business owners, really, solopreneurs, and people maybe like you were 8 years ago starting out, called The Right Company, and just wanted a place to get close to my readers, to feel that connection. Because when you work solo or in a small business, it can be pretty isolating if you don't have that connection with the people that you're serving. So that is a long way around to say also it's very fulfilling to be connected to the people that you serve. It's very fulfilling to be able to look them in the eye and know the reason that you get up in the morning.
Yeah, and I think you're brilliant at that, Bernadette. Let's just say, I was a solopreneur. I've not heard that before, but I like that. When I first started the business, and I say yours was one of the first books I read, and I thought, I'll email this lady because I was so grateful for the book, and didn't expect a response. And I think you came back to me within about 5 minutes, and that was really encouraging, and great that you actually had found the time to email me. So yeah, I can see why your passion is around sort of smaller businesses and communities at the moment.
I think we forget that it's a real privilege to have people's attention, or it's a privilege for somebody to spend time on your website, or to read your book, or to buy it, or read your blog, whatever it is, because there's a billion choices for them to make out there. So that's me being grateful for the fact that you took the time to buy the book or read the book, and if it's helping you, I mean, what an honor, what a privilege to be able to do that work.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All of your books have been fantastic, and I've always looked forward to the next one appearing. So yeah, keep it up, keep them coming. So finally, Bernadette, I know you've got things to do. Looking back, two questions in one, I guess. How has this crisis changed your story, and what have you learned about yourself during this pandemic?
How has it changed my story? What I've learned is that I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm in the place doing the work that I wanted to do all along, and that I am extremely lucky. I thank my lucky stars every day that I get to do the work that I do. I don't feel like I have been impacted or affected that much, and for anybody who can say that at this time in the world, is in the 1%. And I think gratitude is what this has taught me more than anything else. My family, my parents are back in Ireland, and that's been a challenge because I didn't get to go and see them in July when I planned to. So just grateful for health and work and the opportunity to connect with people around the world and serve people.
Yeah, and I think we've all woken up to that, haven't we? Those things that we took for granted,
Mm-hmm.
those relationships, those those things like popping over to Ireland to see your family, which just been a matter of course, is now something that you realise just how valuable that is, and how valuable the connection we've got around the world now.
Yeah, I'm just so glad we taught my parents to Skype, because if I didn't have that, then the things we've done on Skype, they haven't got a handle on Zoom, but the things we've done on Skype, showing them paint charts and organizing help for them to come in and doing their online shop, Tesco. It's been incredible, really. So so grateful for this digital technology that connects all of us.
Yeah, no, that's it's great when it works. My stepfather, we bought him an iPad and
Cool.
sent it over to him, but we spend most of the time talking to the ceiling when we're speaking to him.
Oh, he'll get there. He will get there.
Hopefully, eventually, yeah. Well, look, Bernadette, it's been brilliant speaking to you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your books. I'd recommend anybody to go out there and go on Amazon. They're all there, and there's not one that I would singularly recommend. I like the Fortune Cookie Principle particularly, but any of them are great reads. Also, your TED Talk, which is on the TED website, that's brilliant. That's a great watch. And your website, thestoryoftelling.com, you can find out a lot more about Bernadette there and her work and what she's all about. So hopefully we can maybe catch up in a couple of months and see how things are going for you, see how things have worked out.
Yeah, I hope you and your team are healthy and happy and thriving in the next 6 months too, Mark.
Yeah, you too, and your family.
And beyond.
Thank you, and your close ones. So I know you're back in lockdown, so stay safe, as they say, and enjoy your evening, and we'll enjoy the rest of our day.
Thanks, Mark. You take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.